Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Okay, I'm going to jump right in.
Okay.
Because last time we talked about employees and blah, 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 like all of that. But then I got to thinking about and going, hold on a minute here. I want to know, like, if because we were talking about, like, after we quit recording, we were talking about how the chatter, like how the chatter gets around, and like if an employee's like, you contacted my last boss and I told you couldn't do that. And I'm like, I didn't contact your last boss. I heard it through whatever.
Yes.
So I think that was your ending note. If remind me if I'm correct, like that's what you were like, employees, be careful, because if you're chattering, you say it to one person, but maybe you listed Mary from your last office, the manager from your last office, maybe you listed her as a reference, and now I'm calling Mary, and Mary knows Betty's boss at her current office, and so now she's like, hey, did you know that Mary applied to Kuba's office? Like,
heck yeah.
You just never know.
The word gets around. You talk to your reps that come in the office, say, hey, I'm looking for a great office, blah, blah, blah. Once again, the dental community's small. People that you tell that you're looking for a job or references that you, like, word's going to get around.
So then I got to thinking, and I was like, okay, so if somebody contacted me, say my supply rep came and said, hey, did you know that Susie on your office applied for Dr. Smith up the street? Like, if somehow that reaches my ears. Yeah. And I got to thinking, what would I do with that information? Like, if I had no idea that Susie, what did I just call her? Are we calling her Susie in my office?
Let's go with
We'll
Susie.
stick with Susie.
Yeah.
Sally's the front, right?
Yes,
Sweet Sally?
Sweet Sally's
okay,
front.
This is salty Susie. Now she's salty because she's leaving me.
She's looking to leave.
She's looking to leave. And I had no
now you
clue.
Know.
And now I know. Susie. Okay, Susie.
Salty Susie.
Salty Susie. No, I'm the salty one, but okay, so.
Sour. Sour Susie.
Well, no, now I'm sour too. I'm salty and sour. Greener pastures, Gabby. So she's Looky Lulu. Okay, sorry. So if I'm finding out that Susie, I found out through my rep today that Susie, my lead RDA, has applied for Dr. Smith down the street, and I had no idea.
Right.
I'm like, whoo. I think I would be salty and sour. I would be. And I'd be like, what the hell is going on? What's your deal, Susie? Yes. Would I...
what would you do with that information?
What would I do with that information? Would I confront her? And I think just me being sensitive Sally is going, man, I've fallen short that Susie wants to leave. Yeah. And I think my walls would go up and be like, you're looking? So you were going to, give me a 2-week notice? Yeah. That you're going to do me after you've been here and after I've just taken you on this, team building to the spa, and after we've done this and this? Like, that's how you're going to do me. You are looking for $1 more an hour? That is what this relationship means to you? So I would be very... Just knowing myself, I would take that very personally. Yeah. And it would be...
It's a rejection.
Yeah. And I don't think I would deal with that very well. Yeah. I think for me, from that point forward, Susie's dead to me. Like, bye-bye, Susie. So I think I would have a hard time. And I don't think I'd ever trust again. Yeah. That clearly there's something here that... Now, it's different if I knew there were... Susie and I are not getting along. I've had to pull in Susie 3 times. And she knows we've written her up. It would still hurt my feelings because to me, it's like, I'm giving my all to make this work and giving you chance after chance because that's what we do. We don't just fire off the bat. We have given chance after chance after chance and repurpose and find a different seat on the bus and do this. And like, we have reached the limit now. So I think for me, that would still grossly hurt my feelings but I would be more open to going, okay, well, I guess it's a good thing seeing the writing on the wall and she's being smart and she's trying to find something before I have to fire her. And maybe I should thank Susie for not putting me in the position of having to fire her and she's going to leave, right? But I think it would be multiple days of me mentally putting that to bed, right?
Yeah.
But if it was the initial scenario I was talking about where I had no idea that Susie was about to leave, I think I would be very tempted to just ask Susie to leave right away.
Yeah.
Shooting myself in the foot, making a very emotional decision. So I guess my question to you is, and you seem to indicate that you have seen these get very messy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to know, can you share drama? That's why we all tune in. Like, what drama is there? What have people gone through? So, can you share with us? And would you say more docs tend to be like me that are like, okay, my guard's up, get the hell out of here, Suze? Or are they like, like fight for her? Is this a good reality check for me to go, you know what? Maybe I have been putting a lot on Susie. Maybe I haven't been showing my gratitude. Maybe I have been like, maybe I haven't given raises or upped my game in a while. I've been dealing with other things at home, and so I didn't pay attention. And you're right, like maybe Susie has a point. Maybe that's why she's looking. Maybe this is really a spotlight on me to up my game as an employer. Or is Susie like an outlier and you're never going to be happy, and off you go? Like, so all of those things, I guess I'm kind of asking you, what do you tend to see? How do people tend to react? What do you advise us to do?
Yeah.
Should we be on the receiving end of this information that we talked about last episode?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad that we're leading to a part 2 on this conversation, because I've seen many of my clients be in the situation of discovering that one of their employees is looking elsewhere. And an emotional reaction is normal, right? There is a rejection component that you're like, am I not good enough? Why in the heck are you looking? So I think give yourself the time to get through the emotions. But then there needs to be a logical evaluation of the situation. So, at the risk of sounding too much like a consultant, I'm always saying that human capital, our employees, are the valuable aspect of a practice. Technology comes and goes, software comes and goes, patients come and go. It's our team that really is like make or break for practices. So if we receive word that Salty Susie is looking elsewhere, but Salty Susie is actually a really valuable employee on our team, and we would be really sad to see her go, we would have a void if she left that would be difficult to fill. Then we move into fight mode. We're like, we've got to figure out why Salty Susie's looking elsewhere first and foremost. So once we move through the rejection emotions, then we go, do we need Susie on the team? Yes. It comes to yes, we need Susie on the team. Then we can't assume why Susie's looking. We have to get clarity on what exactly is causing Susie to look elsewhere. If we assume Susie's looking just for more pay, and all of a sudden we're throwing these pay increases at Susie, we could have missed the mark. That may not be why Susie's looking. What if, and I had this scenario where a client of mine got word that his valuable RDA was looking elsewhere. He was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was paying her well, but I'm just going to up her pay, which he kind of did all this and then told me about it later. And turns out Susie's childcare situation had changed. The after school program or something had gotten dismantled, or they were only accepting a few people, and he had like a 9 to 6 work schedule. She was having to reorient her entire childcare situation and couldn't find something that kept kids until 6:30. She was like, I don't know how else to reconcile this. She was moving for she was looking due to a very practical situation. She wasn't unhappy. It had nothing to do with pay. She was in a crisis of her own where she was having to put pieces back together and was like, I'm going to have to look for another job. It had not turned in her notice, just had looked at a few offices that had hours that would be conducive to this new childcare situation, put in their application there. Word got back to him that she had put in an application there. So he's about to run at her, or he did, run at her with more money to try to keep her. It wasn't a money issue. It was a logistic issue. So we can't just assume the reason that somebody else is looking, which is where it gets uncomfortable. Well, I know we've had some episodes like called Uncomfortable Conversations, but never one about this. The most uncomfortable conversation that you can have is, hey, Susie, words kind of made it to me that you're looking. Can we please have a conversation about that? Whew, talk about awkward, because you don't know what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
In that conversation. And you have to be able to have purged those negative emotions, those rejection emotions, before you've stepped into that conversation to come up with all the scenarios that Susie might be in, that she would even be willing to look.
Which is a good point for why my gut reaction is wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's full of emotion. But if I had just written her off,
Yeah.
because I'm feeling rejected and hurt. Although it still begs the question, why wouldn't she come to me with that information to see if I could do anything? But maybe from her side, she's like, well, I didn't want to burden you with that, or I didn't want you to have to make special accommodations for me or whatever. But
which was the case with this one that I'm telling you about.
Yeah.
She thought it would be too hard on the team, on the doc team, for her to have an exception. She was like, that's not fair for me to ask for that exception and to put my owner doc in a position that then other people might ask for that same exception. So it was actually very noble. It was a noble reason to...
Which is why we want to keep Susie to begin with.
I know. She's not salty anymore now.
We
She's
love
sweet.
you, Suze. Yeah, sweet Suze, yes.
So to me, we have to confront it. If we know we want to keep Susie, then we've got to be able to have a conversation where we just honestly say, hey, word's gotten back to me that you're looking. I just want to be able to talk with you about it and tell me what's prompting you to look elsewhere. I want you to be honest with me and tell me everything. And then you know the facts. Like, can I solve any of these things, or are they unsolvable? Maybe for this owner, he can't. Like, he knows that he's had 3 other assistants that asked to leave at 5:30, and he told them all no. And Susie's now telling him the only reason that I can ultimately that I'm looking for other jobs is because I need to leave at 5:30. And so he says, yeah, I can't accommodate that. So it could absolutely be something related to that you just can't fix it. You can't make it right for Susie.
Can I put you on the spot here? I think you need to make a playbook item for this. Okay.
Yep.
Like how to have these conversations and what kind of things to ask. And frankly, even like when we were talking in the last episode about questions you can and can't ask.
Yeah.
Or like, what should you ask when you call a reference? Like that to me is one of the most awkward conversations where I'm just like, hi, Mary put you down as I'm a, I just like mutter my way through that and hope the person understands what I'm trying to say. And
yes.
And then me too going, because I can't ever remember what I'm allowed to ask or not ask. And so I'm just like, well, Mary applied for a job. She listed you as a reference. Pause. And like hoping that the person, like
says
Mary's
something.
told the other person, they're like, oh yeah, I love Mary, blah, blah, blah. But then if they're like, and I'm like, what was I supposed to ask and not ask? What's going to get me in trouble here? Can you, what are you willing to share about Mary? So maybe if you could do that in the playbook.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And if some of you don't know what I'm talking about when I say play, shame on you. It is, you are one of the few randos who have not signed up for a subscription, because in the subscription, the tier 2 subscription, I guess, that and we're getting fantastic feedback. So I'm excited about that. But basically you get a newsletter, a digest, whatever you want to call it, that has resources. And so we call them our playbook tips. Items. And there's always 3 in every month digest that gives you the how-tos. Yep. And it's got like literally like you could print it off and say, okay, now I'm going to use this print off to ask these questions. So anyway, I'm going to task you with that. I just gave you homework. Look at that. Look at that, Missy.
I wrote both of them down, the professional reference check, and if you figure out that an employee is looking, like how do you navigate that conversation?
And or if there are any other random HR tips like I discovered in the last podcast about like how we have to get permission to ask, which I just think is ludicrous. I don't like it, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
But if there's any other like things that you see a lot of us doing that we're like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if that comes up or not, but if you can think of things like that, maybe that could be another.
Yeah.
Yeah. HR tips.
That'd be really good.
Which nobody really wants. I think most of us want to bury our head in the sand on, but
they are important.
Yeah, we could get
really
ourselves in
are.
trouble. Yeah. Okay. Back to again then. So we were talking about how this one who childcare issues, and then he said to her,
ultimately he did decide it was something. As much as he loved Susie, he knew if he made an exception for Susie, he had already had other RDAs that were asking to leave early. So he was either looking at change his practice hours, because all of my RDAs are struggling to get, childcare is not running as late as it used to run, or I just have to let Susie go. So it was a good evaluation point for him. Ultimately, Susie did move on from his practice, because when he looked at the production of those last couple hours of the day, he was like, it'd be a big risk to my practice, to lose that or to change that. So anyway, but the conversation was helpful, because all he did was he just gave her a raise, by the way, just without she didn't ask for it or anything. He was like, hey, by the way, Susie, you got an extra $1 an hour, congrats, blah, blah, blah. Because that was just his, like, the shot in the dark. It's got to be money.
Hope it sticks. Hope she sticks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when he told me about it, I came in and sat with Susie and talked with Susie. And I was like, hey, word on the street is you're looking. And this is the information I got from Susie, which was the actual real reason that she was looking. It ended up working out really well, because Susie was looking at places in town, and because of the conversation that I was able to have with Susie, I was able to tell him the reasons. He was given a chance to think through, is there anything that I can do to solve this situation? He realized he couldn't. And then essentially Susie had his blessing. Right? It was an amicable ending, because he understood that he couldn't do anything to help her. He was able to give a good reference for her. So it really did turn out to be a decent situation, despite the fact that he lost Susie. He knew he couldn't solve.
Okay, give me a messy one then. I want a drama one that did not end well.
I think the drama ones are when you don't want to keep the person.
Well, or what I was thinking, and you tell me if this happens, I would imagine it happens relatively frequently, but it's somebody who comes in, well, I'm worth this, I need this raise, and doctor's like, I don't think so, because to me those are super messy. So then,
yep,
do you have a couple of examples? So of the one you just said, and of maybe of this one, you're nodding your head and you've got that grin on your face, you can think of several.
So
go ahead,
many,
give us some meaty ones.
So one that stands out as memorable is actually a hygienist that so let me just say this to our employees that listen. I love when they bring their requests to the practice owner or to me, if I'm in with a practice, because to me, we have a chance then of having a very open conversation. And this is going to sound super judgy of me, but I think it's weaselly and wimpy to just put in your notice and go somewhere else. If you think there's a way of navigating good change in your practice for something that you're wanting or something that you're needing, to me, have the conversation.
But I think that is so awkward for most people.
It is.
And I agree from your side where it could seem weaselly, but I think the majority of people in any field, in any job, typically tend to go, I'm not going to have that conversation. They should know my worth. And if they don't see my worth, I'm going to move along and find what I can find elsewhere. And with the job market the way it is, you can.
Yeah.
So I think it really speaks to the employee that's like, but I really don't want to go anywhere. And I think that's why I have the reaction that I have. If I'm hearing about it, that tells me, I take it as if you wanted to stay here, you would find a way to approach me, because I do feel like I'm pretty approachable, or they could approach you. And so if you've still kind of gone around us, that to me says you don't really value this position that much, and or you think any other place can be like this or better.
Or they're so conflict averse that they literally just cannot bring themselves to do it. That's what I see in a lot of situations, is they are so scared of that conflict or that their rejection, like, oh crap, now I've made my desires known and now that doctor knows. And what if they reject me and then I'm out on my heels without a job?
Or if you're coming in and you're asking for a $2 an hour raise and doctor says no, are you going to be like, okay, well, it was worth asking? Or
Right.
are you like, oh my God, now this doctor doesn't see my worth and value. Why am I here? Maybe I should be looking. So I think all of that there, it's all feelings.
It is. So I'll tell you one of my favorite conversations and then a conversation that I had recently, both with employees that were bringing concerns. I don't want to use the word demands. There's got to be a better word for desires, maybe?
Requests.
Requests.
Yeah.
So both of these were really interesting conversations. So one was a hygienist that is in a practice that the pay structure is very different for hygienists. So it's more of a salary type position. There's great bonus program in place. And anyway, one of the better setups for employees, it's a privately owned practice, but for me, the way that they're paid is more corporate in nature. So she came and said, hey, I want to meet with me regarding pay. She had set up a poll on a social media group. She had set up an anonymous poll where she had data from, it was like 50 or 60 different hygienists from around the Metroplex. So this was in the DFW Metroplex, on hourly pay, bonus, yes or no, paid holidays, paid PTO. So it was a salary evaluation that she had done.
I don't like her.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I already love this lady, and now I love her.
You are stirring
more.
the pot for my colleagues around the Metroplex. I don't like you, and I hope you're not a listener, because I don't know who you are, but I just said I didn't like you.
You're right. We're so different. I'm like, respect. I love it. Data. You're not bringing feelings to me in this conversation. You're bringing data.
I know, because now every other hygienist, 50 hygienists that are across the Metroplex are going, do I match up, or do I need to leave my office right now? I don't like her.
So,
you're a pot stirrer, honey.
What's cool about this, though, is she came prepared to the conversation, and I came prepared to the conversation, because she had said, this is going to be about finances. I've got some data that I want to go over with you. I had not seen the data. I didn't ask for the data ahead of time.
Because you had your own data?
Because I had my own data. And I was like, I can't wait to go over this. So anyway, we entered the conversation. I was like, hey, talk with me about what you've been thinking about. She was like, financially, obviously I work to provide for my family. I've been doing some research. It's hard to evaluate because all of these hygienists are paid hourly. Nobody is paid salary like we are. I'm like, yes, I know. And so she had put all the data down. She pulled it up in front of me. I was able to kind of scan and see, what the total package was and everything. And she was like, I just kind of want to see. It feels like, based on my math regarding what I get paid, I'm seeing my hourly be about this and blah, blah, blah. Right. So she felt like, based on the data she had obtained, that it wasn't.
She needed more. She was being not compensated. This is why she's having this conversation. Looky here. I've got all the data right here that shows everybody else in the Metroplex is making more than I am. And I don't know how you, consultant, didn't know that, but let me point it out to you. I've done my research. Here it is.
I mean, something along the lines of that, without the tone, but yes. Mm-hmm. So I had already done, we use a compensation worksheet that your planner actually created. And
that's also available in another.
Actually, I haven't made that one available.
Oh,
'Cause
but
it's not-
okay, but you've got the compensation review.
how you at least do the math of it.
Yeah.
So
in a playbook item, in a previous
In a
digest,
playbook
which now,
item.
for people who didn't subscribe earlier on
can go back and purchase
on the hub.
on the hub.
Okay.
They can go back and purchase. So yes, that how you do the math to come up with effective hourly, it is detailed out, and you can do the math. So I had done the math for this particular and had extrapolated, her salary plus the bonuses plus this particular office has a very, what I would call an aggressive PTO package for the whole team, including the hygienist, which oftentimes the hygienists are excluded from that, or theirs is diminished. And so, anyway, I had done the math to come up with her effective hourly, and I was able to show her, by the way, here's your effective hourly. Let's compare it to your spreadsheet, because she had the spreadsheet organized from lowest hourly to highest hourly.
I'm sure she did.
And she was the highest hourly. So I said, oh, isn't this exciting? When we do the math and actually pull the math the correct way, from an hourly standpoint, look, you beat everybody on the list. And oh, by the way, if you were to do this math, their hourly on your spreadsheet times the hours that they work, it equals this annual pay. By the way, you're projected this year to be at this annual pay. Let's do the math. Look, you're beating all of them. You're out of the 50 that you polled, you're the highest, babe. Congratulations. It was such a cool conversation because she walked away actually feeling good. She did not know, she had done the math on the data, but she didn't know how it had extrapolated into her hourly and to her annual. So I was able to show her in two ways, both hourly and annually, that she was actually the creme de la creme. She was the top of the top. And so she left feeling really good about that.
Now, what if she wasn't? What if she was like in the mid-20s? Like, yeah, there are people that are getting paid worse than her, but there are people in the Metroplex making more than her. What would you have advised in that case?
So in that particular case, I would have gone back to that whole conversation to Doc, do we want to keep this person? Because if she's middle of the pack, she can go to 50% of the population and make more. May not be much more, but what can we do to make her package more competitive?
If you want to keep her.
If you want to keep her.
Okay.
So that's where it comes back to, are we keeping her or not? So that was one conversation, employee-led. She pursued the conversation. It was productive, and she left feeling great about things. Now, I'll give you the opposite end of the spectrum. A conversation that I had where the employee said, hey, can I steal some time with you today? Absolutely. We sat down, and she had been with the practice for about a year. Basically, culturally, she was like, I don't fit. She's like, I can't put my finger on it. I don't feel like the doctor's satisfied. I feel like there's like already really solid social structure in place. She's like, I've really done my efforts to try to have a connection with team members. So
to break into the clique, basically, and she hasn't.
And she hasn't. And she said, because of that, I don't think I'm ever going to be valued here to where I can grow financially. And after listening to her, I agreed with her. And I said, I think you've assessed the situation accurately. And as a consultant, I'd love to be able to say that I could change some of those things. I don't think I'm going to change that here. And I think you know what you need to do.
Well, that's awkward for you then.
Mm-hmm. But I knew that she was accurate. I knew that the doctor wasn't dissatisfied with her, but she wasn't she wasn't like, this girl, yes, she's going places.
Let me change some stuff to make her feel better in my office.
I knew that my client was appropriately staffed. She was overly staffed, didn't necessarily need the employee. I knew that my advice in that scenario was probably win-win. I was helping my client because I don't think my client was going to be satisfied. I think frustration was going to continue to grow. I knew it wasn't leaving her in a predicament of being understaffed. I knew for this young lady that I was talking to, you've accurately identified the situation and it's not going to get better. So I was able to encourage her, start looking. And oh, by the way, I am going to let the doctor know that you're looking. Because again, as a consultant, I can't hide that information.
Yeah.
And so they were able to then have a conversation after she and I spoke. The doctor and the person got together. They had a mutually respectful conversation. Like, yep, we agree. It's best to part ways. Let's part ways on this day. This will be the end date. That'll give you time to interview, find your next job. You'll be able to tell them an accurate date that you can start. It was an amicable ending. That all came because of an employee pursuing the conversation. So to me, two completely different endings. One ended in you're leaving, and one was like, hey, no pay increase because you're at the top of the top anyway. Congrats. Now you're happy. So to me, just the view of those conversations are super critical. Now, if an employee, we come to know like that somebody's leaving and we decide that we're not wanting to keep them, that's where it gets really awkward. Because then your emotional reaction of, oh, she's quitting on me. I'm quitting on her. I'm putting her out on her feet before she can even resign because I want her out. Today's her last day. Those are the situations that I really would caution practice owners on making emotional decisions. Because if they're already on their way out and you don't want to keep them long term, let them leave. Let them leave. Unless you feel like they're causing catastrophic damage to your team or to your patient base, or they're making massive errors that are a liability risk for you and you need to make a quick knee-jerk decision. First of all, I'm like, why haven't you made that decision already? And now you hearing that the person's leaving has prompted you to be like, okay, now's the time. It sounds like you should have, if they're a detriment to your practice, you should have fired them already. But if now you're here and you know looking, let them look and let them leave.
So what about, because I think this happened to a colleague of mine recently, where the hygienist put in her notice and doc said, you know what, we don't need you for the rest 2 weeks. Like, you're welcome to go ahead and leave. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that was because truly she's like, there's not enough patients on the schedule. Thank God you're leaving because it's going to be hard for me to pay your salary anyway. Or if it was more of the mindset of, you know, I think I can do the hygiene myself and save, because if you're leaving anyway, why, you know, you're one of the most expensive employees on payroll, so off you go. But I think she was not surprised and she was not unhappy that this hygienist was leaving. But then the hygienist gave her 2 weeks, and my friend said, you know what, today can be your last day. And then the hygienist went apeshit on her.
Yeah.
So what would you advise that? Would you say, like, I guess, would you say, what should you do? Should you say, yeah, okay, in that case, today's your last day? Or I think for me, over time, again, unless the person was a detriment or unless the person annoyed the bejesus out of me, I think I would say, okay, do you want today to be your last day, or did you want to stay the 2 weeks? Like, did you, because I think sometimes employees are like, man, this other job's waiting on me, but I got to give you my 2 weeks. And so it could work out in both of your favors and be a win-win. Yeah. But I think, what do you think about that?
It's very subjective. So to me, I'm always, in that case, I'm always thinking about the protection of the practice. And if I do think, let's say it's a super negative Nancy that's just been weaving drama over and over and over again, is it worth the risk of keeping her on the team when she's completely checked out? Probably not in that case. Now, I like to protect the practice, though, in going, hey, you know what? Hey, I get it. You're ready to move on to that new practice. Are they ready for you right away? Oh, yeah, they would take me tomorrow. Do we want to make this our last day? I mean, I hate for you to have to give out this 2 week notice when they're ready for you. So it can be done that way. in a mutual parting, or if we know that the person's leaving and doesn't have their job secured yet, we can, first of all, always get the resignation in writing. If they're leaving and they're telling you, hey, by the way, I'm leaving, here's my last day, before you continue the conversation, in writing, because that protects you from unemployment. If the employee is leaving of their own volition, it is not an unemployment claim, and you need to protect yourself. So don't have any conversations about whether they're staying the 2 weeks or not until you have a resignation in writing. Then, after you have the resignation in writing that clearly says their departure date, then you can have that conversation. If you know that they're moving or they're whatever and they can't start for 2 weeks, but you don't want them around because of risk to the practice or risk to the patients or whatever the case may be, there needs to be good reason. It can't just be, I don't feel like looking at her for the 2 weeks. That's dumb. Please don't be dumb. You're smarter than that. So don't make it emotional. If you feel like there's inherent risk to the practice or the team and you need them to go, but the next job is not ready for them, I would say it is worth it to give a severance pay at that point. Because then that the hygienist that went all crazy on your colleague wouldn't have gone crazy if she knew she was going to be off for the next 2 weeks with pay. Right? The whole reason is she was freaking out because she now doesn't have pay for 2 weeks. And that's why she...
And I can see, like, my colleague, I can almost see her reaction now and be like, you want me to pay this bee after she's made this mess in my office, and now she's giving me this 2 week, and I've got to be the one to be the bigger man on the high road. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but it's definitely worth the, I'm going to call in a board complaint on you. I'm going to, all the restless sleep nights and all that. And what you just said a minute ago, don't be dumb and just make them leave. Like, that would be me. I would be the one who would be dumb and just be like, get the hell out. And I've done it. The last several years, that's what I've done, where I'm just like, God, I can't stand you. I cannot wait to not have to see your face again. You know what? You're going to have a lot on your plate to get ready. I'm sure your new job's going to be like the one here where you've got a lot of paperwork and got a lot of stuff to do to transition. I think we'll be good without you. I'm going to pay you for those 2 weeks.
Yep.
And so even if that's just me, you're not going to be a detriment in my office, but I don't want to look at your face.
Yeah.
So
then you're still doing it in a very amicable way.
Yes. And it's one, it looks good for if they do happen to file for unemployment, because that nonsense happens too. But this way, at least mathematically and blah, 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 it looks better. And I know all of us, trust me, I have been there where I am just like, I cannot believe I am having to pay this again. You've got to be kidding me. I will tell you with no hesitation, it is worth every damn penny, and it is a drop in the bucket of life. Do it and move on.
Yes. It's a worthwhile...
It really is.
...investment. It really is. And again, to paint a perspective that we don't have very often. Like, it's our not sweet new, she's annoying new, $18 per hour RDA that is flighty and immature and drama, and she's moving on. And we're like, great. I'm so excited to not have her in the office.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. 2 weeks of pay. If we're like, today's your last day and she literally can't start for 2 weeks at the new job, that is no food on the table type situation. Like, they don't have, $1,000 of savings prepared to feed their family. I mean, they make $18 an hour. So I think there's also got to be that human side of it that...
Well, yes, but in my mind, I'm like, I didn't ask you to perform this way. I didn't ask you to put in your notice. That is not
I know.
On me. But at the end of the day, it is not going to break you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a way to end amicably that is not costly.
It is costly mentally, and yes, you're right. If it's a hygienist, especially, we might be talking about $1,000, $2,000. It's not cheap.
Probably $2,000 if they're full time.
And it makes me want to vomit.
Yeah.
However, $2,000 in the bucket of your practice is worth not having to deal with the aftermath of this person.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So to me, that's where most of the drama can come in, when you know you don't want to keep the person. You get wind that they're looking, and then you're like, adios. So either wait, knowing that they will find a job and they're going to leave, just wait it out, or precipitate the conversation and say, hey, we both agree this isn't working well. I want you to have the freedom to interview, to find your next job quickly. Let's part ways. Let's do it this date, or let's do it tomorrow, and I'll at least pay you for the next 2 weeks so you have time to go. So navigate it in a way that's as non-emotional as possible, protecting the practice, but also is doing it in a way that's not drama-filled at the end.
Yuck.
Man, we had two back-to-back drama episodes. Man. Is this called managing dental drama or what?
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.